We are reading today from When Hippo Was Hairy and Other Tales from Africa, told by Greeves. Elephant Learns Some Manners. It's a Shona story. One day, Elephant came across Squirrel on the path to the river. The proud and lordly elephant swept Squirrel off the path with his trunk, rumbling, "Out of my way, you of no importance and tiny size." Squirrel was most offended, as he had every right to be. Stamping his little feet in a rage, he decided that he was going to try and teach Elephant some manners. "Ho!" shouted Squirrel indignantly. "You may be very tall, and you may be very proud, but I bet you think you're the greatest animal on earth. But you're much mistaken." Elephant looked around in surprise. "I am not mistaken, Squirrel," he rumbled. "I am the greatest, and everyone knows it." "Let me tell you something, Elephant," said Squirrel, chittering angrily and flicking his tail. "I may be small, but I can eat 10 times as much as you. I challenge you to an eating contest, and I bet you that I, Squirrel, can eat more palm nuts and for a longer time than you, high and mighty Elephant." Elephant roared with laughter. He was so amused, in fact, that he accepted the tiny creature's challenge. Besides, he was rather fond of palm nuts. So both animals collected a huge pile of palm nuts and agreed to start the contest the very next morning, at first light. Elephant could hardly wait. He even skipped his evening meal of acacia pods so as to be truly empty for the morning. He intended to put Squirrel firmly in his place, once and for all. The next day dawned fine and sunny, as it often does in Africa, and the two contestants started to eat. Elephant munched steadily through his pile with a fine appetite. Squirrel, nibbling away furiously, was soon full to bursting. Quietly he slipped away, sending a cousin who was hiding nearby to take his place. Elephant was so absorbed in his greedy task that he didn't even notice. Brothers, sisters, cousins, uncles, aunts, one hungry squirrel after another took a turn at the pile of palm nuts. Eventually, at midday, Elephant looked up. "Well, Squirrel, have you had enough yet?" he asked, surprised to see his small adversary still busily eating. Not only was he still eating, but his pile of palm nuts was disappearing almost as fast as Elephant's own. "Not yet," mumbled Squirrel, his mouth full. "And you?" "Never," replied Elephant scornfully, and he started to eat a little faster. By the time the sun was setting, Elephant was so full he could hardly stand. He looked over to where Squirrel, the original Squirrel, who had come back after a day of sleeping in a nearby tree, was still eating more palm nuts. Elephant groaned. "Truly, you are amazing, Squirrel," he said. "I cannot go on, and I'm forced to admit that you have won the contest." And he lifted his trunk in salute. Squirrel, hopping with delight, thanked Elephant and told him not to be so proud in future. And from that day to this, Elephant has always shown great respect for Squirrel.